Today we're going to be solving cube root and cubic functions. Yeah, so our goal says right here at the top, I can solve cube root and cubic functions. Like anytime we go to solve anything, our goal is a couple of little steps here. First step, we need to isolate. We need to isolate our cube or cube root, our cubic or cube root portion of our function. After we isolate it, we need to apply the inverse. Okay, so depending on which one we're dealing with, we need to apply the inverse to it to undo it. So we'll be able to solve. And then there, we go and solve for our variable. Generally, in this case, it's going to be solve for x or whatever variable we happen to have. So looking at some examples that we have right here, our first one says we have 6x cubed minus 162 is equal to 0. So my goal to start with is to get that cube all by itself. So to do that, step 1, move the 162 to the right. To the right, to the right. Whatever we do to the left, we got to do to the right. Moving that one over here. Keeping everything balanced at all times. This is a negative 6x cubed is equal to 162 now. I still do not have my x cubed isolated, so I need to go through and divide. Divide both sides by negative 6. In doing so, I now have x cubed has been isolated. Over on the right hand side, and do my division. 6 goes into 16 here. That'll go, well, it'll be negative. We have 2, 7. So x cubed is equal to negative 27. Now I have to undo or do the inverse of x cubed. The inverse of x cubed would be to take the cube root of it. And of course, if I do it to the left side of my equation, I must do the same to the right. So I now know that x is equal to negative 3. Now looking at another example here, so these were dealing with x cubes, we can do the same thing as if it's a cube root problem. Step 1, isolate the cube root. I've got to get rid of the minus 2, so to get rid of the minus 2, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, add 2, move it to the right. I now have the cube root of x minus 1 is equal to 2. I need to apply the inverse of the cube root to both sides of my equation. So I'm going to put parentheses here and say, let's cube them. Cube it. And over on the left-hand side, I'm left with x minus 1. And on the right-hand side, 2 to the third power is 8. Now, my goal is to get the x by itself. I don't have it there yet. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. And I see that x now is equal to 9. Stick a fork in that bad boy. He is done. Solving cube root and cubic functions. Just like solving all of our other equations, take them one little bite at a time. Enjoy.